I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
Swinging. There's a high drive. Deep into left center field. It's on its way. Adios! Pelota!
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants!
A grand slam for Buster Posey's good friend.
A podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Chad King, Eric Nathanson, and Willie Dills. This is the TortureCast.
It's Thursday, April 9th, 2026, and this is episode 335 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the suddenly streaking, that's 2 games, by the way, San Francisco Giants. I'm here with both boys, and, normally I would not be very high up or happy about a 3-4 week, but I'm actually, I'm pretty happy right now. And I first wanted to go to Willie to ask his kind of opinion about not only the 3-4 week, but finishing off the week with 2 shutouts over the Phillies. But you were in the yard yesterday, so I kind of wanted to, hear you out on like what the feel of the park was, what the energy was like. What did you see that you liked? What did you see that you didn't like?
I got to go to a game finally. I think we talked about it. I might have talked about it on the show with you guys when I got the tickets, but for day games on a weekday, the ticket was $14, and that's an upper deck. It's like view reserve or whatever.
Dude, a beer costs more than that.
That's true. Yeah, I did not buy any beer. I made my own sandwich, and I didn't drink any beer. And it was the cheapest baseball game I've ever been to in my life. The seat itself being pretty shitty is fine because on a day game during the week, it was a pretty full house, all things considered, but there was plenty of spots to just walk around and sit down. So
sure.
I did not sit in the view reserve for much of the game. But the vibes are good. The weather was nice. It was like 60 degrees, so it wasn't super hot, which is another thing with day games. When you're sitting in like the sun all day, it kind of sucks. But there's one thing that I kind of realized yesterday sitting in the stands is that most of the baseball fans are not like us. They're not following everything going on with the team. They don't really know what's happening. They might look at the stands and go, "Oh, we're 3-8. That sucks." But I guess at that point we were 4-8, right? But they're not down on the team. They're not like, "Oh, we're not hitting. Nobody's hitting home runs. Our bullpen sucks." They are just this might be the first game they've seen all year. Some of them, you know what I mean? Like this might just be they're just there to like hang out on a Wednesday, and the vibes were chill, man. Everybody seemed good. I mean, people this is a fun team in a lot of ways. We got a lot of personalities. People love chanting for Jung-Hoo Lee, even though he has not done shit this year. They still do the Jung-Hoo Lee chants. And
literally Jung-Hoo.
Yeah, Jung-Hoo? Where's he at? What's he doing? People seem to love Devers, obviously, swinging out of his heels all the time. And it's just, I don't know. Everybody seemed to be having a great time. I did end up talking baseball with a couple of people around me because I was there by myself. And there was one guy I was talking to after the Arias triple that should have been a home run. I thought it was a home run when he hit it off the top of the wall. By the way, Arias, if you think about his day on Wednesday, he was on third base like every time he came to the plate or he scored. It was like a wild day for that dude. But anyway, so talking to a guy about that, and I was like, oh yeah, people were saying his defense is gonna suck, and people were down on him when we picked him up. He's like, what? I never heard of that. So again, it was like, nobody knows about this stuff. He just knows that he's won batting titles, and he played for San Diego, and so he was very excited about him. It was just a great day. We got to see a moonshot from Devers, and a second shutout in 2 days. So beautiful. I had a great time. I'm going to be looking at the schedule and trying to get every single day game a ticket for $14 I can for the rest of the season, because it's just a fantastic way to spend a day,
You mentioned about how many fans may not really be tapped into kind of the pulse of the Giants right now. sometimes I go, how can you not be? I mean, the Giants are the Bay Area baseball team, blah, blah, blah. And then I just have to pull back a second and go, it's like when I go to a Sharks game, right? I go to one Sharks game a year. When I show up, I swear to God, Willie, I usually don't know where they are in the standings. I don't know anyone but one guy on the team. Like this year, it's Celebrini, who's smashing
they
records.
have that 18-year-old
that's
kid or
it.
something. Yeah. I know. I remember when they had Thornton. At least I knew who that guy was, and now I'm just
right.
I have don't know a single name on the team right now.
Yeah, so I have to put myself in their shoes and go, hey, you know what? Because I'd come with a Sharks hat and a Sharks shirt, and if someone was to grill me, I'd be like, I don't even know what place they're in right now, guys. I don't know.
Like,
I'm just
like
here
San
for the
Jose.
Yeah.
I'll say this. It's different nowadays too, because you remember growing up, even if you weren't a huge baseball fan, I think most people read the sports section, right? And the sports section had a recap of the last night's game or whatever, and you could check the standings, you kind of see what was going on. Now they don't even do that anymore. If you pick up the paper, there's not a beat reporter just writing about last night's game in the Chronicle. It is so annoying. They have these pieces every now and then about what's going on, but there used to just be a literal, it was not a huge article, but recap of the night before. You know what I mean? So if you're a casual fan, you're not getting tapped in through that. You're probably not going on Google and searching it. Maybe you listen to KNBR in your car, but a lot of people don't listen to the radio anymore. So it's it's harder to pay attention now unless you're really seeking it out. It's not really just put in your face. So, it makes sense to me. A lot of these people are just they rustle through their closet and find their one Giants hat when they have tickets to a game, and then they come out and they cheer for Jung Hoo Lee. So they cheer for that guy. You know what I mean? And that's fine. That's great. I think all these people are entitled to have their fun. And sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh yeah, these people don't care that we're 4-8. They're just having fun at a baseball game.
Just having a good time.
So, yeah. And I need to remember that. Don't get
speaking
so
of having a
down
good
on it.
time, Eric is also with us, Eric Nathanson. Hey, Eric, I mean, you feeling better about, the last two games?
Well, the Sharks are now 3 points out of a playoff spot with 5 games to go.
Thanks for informing me. Sorry. I still didn't even know that.
I had to look it up. I had to look it up when you used that as a reference. I'm cautiously optimistic. It was a tough stretch to face the Yankees, the Padres, the Mets, and the Phillies to start the season. It could have been worse, and the last 2 days were a lot better. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I love that Devers got hot right before they went to Baltimore, because Devers apparently rakes in Baltimore. I was looking up some stats yesterday. I don't have them at the tip of my tongue, but let's see here. Yes, I do. But Devers, he's hitting 290 with an OPS of 865. He has 13 homers in 58 games in Baltimore. So I love the idea that they got their stuff together before they headed to Baltimore for this 3-game set. So I'm cautiously optimistic. 3 days ago, if you would ask me if I thought they could finish 500, I would have said no, because Monday night was a disaster. Tony V going to Ryan Barucki in a high leverage situation. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's funny though, to Willie's point, the casual at the game isn't even thinking about that when he brings Barucki in the high leverage situation.
He doesn't know who Barucki is in the first place, the casual. Yeah, he's
exactly.
Who's this guy?
But now that they have 20...
They don't know who Eric Miller is either. When I was watching the game and Eric Miller came in to close it out, people were like, "Who's this guy? Is this our new closer?" And I was like,
"Oh my god,
no, but he'll do for now." Also, I mean, he's throwing 100 miles an hour, and it's nice to have a lefty that you can go to in the ninth inning too. He looks like a closer a little bit, but it's we psychoanalyze these little decisions, right? Like Barucki with a 2-run lead, and most people just go "Wait, what happened? They scored?" It's like they don't give a crap at all. Hold on.
Oh, no worries.
It was impressive, though, how they bounced back after blowing that game Monday and now have 20 straight scoreless innings from their pitching staff. So I'd say, Chad, I'm feeling a little bit better than I was a couple days ago.
Yeah, 2 games does not make a streak. We all know that. But at least, they're going to go on the road with a little pep in their step, right? I mean, they got to feel better about getting on the plane.
You don't go on a winning streak without winning 2 at least. So, we got those 2. Now let's see.
Hey, especially the start of the year, 1-7, guys, at home. I mean, that's just, that's where you're supposed to be better. And so, they're still only 3-7, but hey, it's step in the right direction. But right now, they went 3-4 this week, losing 3 or 4 to the Mets, and of course taking the last 2 or 3 from Philly. So the early standings, 2 weeks into the year, they are already lingering in last place, 4.5 games back of the Dodgers, 2.5 back of the wild card, with the second worst record in the National League. But again, these records are going to flip and move very, very much over the next month, really. So I'm not too worried about that right now. Those. I think it was, who was it? Was it Tyler Mahle, I think, the other night? They were asking him about his performance because he had a great start this week against the Phillies. And he was like, look, we kind of blew a couple games here. So if we had, the ball bounced in our direction and we had closed those games out, you guys would be talking a totally different story right now. And he's right to a certain extent. I mean, they're 5-8 right now. So you take those 2 and suddenly they're 7-6 and things are like, okay, they're 500, whatever.
We knew going into the season, and this is what I think we were texting about it, that the bullpen was our weakness, and it is proven to be true. Right now, it's really annoying is when a guy like Webb goes out and battles, right, and then gets out of some tough jams and without his best stuff actually leaves the game with a lead, and then it gets blown. It sucks when a guy like Hauser is actually has a pretty good game. Unfortunately, he got the credit for the 2 runs it scored after the bullpen came in, but he also battled. You know what I mean? He leaves the game with a lead, and we do not win that game. So this is now becoming a little bit of a trend, and it's not a fun trend because these starters are going to start. These starters are going to start feeling a little down on themselves if they can't go out, pitch 6 2/3, and leave with only 1 earned run, and then watch the game slip away. So that's something we're going to need to figure out. I don't know if there's going to be some moves that happen. Right now it feels like we're just moving guys up and down. And obviously there's a couple pieces that are missing for not the reasons that they're not Buster's fault. But we need to figure this one out because this is going to be a problem all season long. A bullpen is so important in modern baseball now. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. One thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was what's going on with Daniel Susac, man. He was we were texting back and forth about him, and that was a breath of fresh air. And I know the guy's probably going to end up hitting the year, 215 on the year, but for right now, he had 5 consecutive hits to start his major league career, and then got another hit, his 7th at bat. So he's 6 for 7 with a triple and a couple runs and an RBI, and he's got his nephew getting tossed around like a rag doll in the stands. That went viral. I mean, it's been a lot of fun watching this kid, and I love watching Araya's hit, by the way, because now we get to watch it a lot more, and just the way he can. Every swing is different, guys. He is so surgical on how he can get that barrel to the ball, whether it's low and inside, high and outside, low and outside. He takes a different approach all the time, and he just looks so balanced and surgical about it. Doesn't strike out much. But Susac kind of reminded me a little bit of that. He was very good about going low in the zone and driving it up the middle, those kinds of things. And again, he's not Luis Arias, but do you think this is at the point where it's only been 2 games? You can't say much about 2 games. But if you have a guy who's already has more hits than Patrick Bailey and in just 2 games. So at what point does Vitello start to creep him in a little bit more? Or do you think he's just going to stay with the normal rotation and just see how this thing, kind of flattens out? Because, Bochy used to ride the hot hand, and he rewarded guys who were hot. And it makes sense. If you're on a streak, you're on a runner, use it until you run out. And so Patrick Bailey has not been tearing the cover off the ball. Yeah, he's a great defensive catcher, but Susac was praised by the pitching staff too. So I'm not saying you start him every game until he doesn't hit anymore, but maybe you mix him in every second or third game, probably every third game, as opposed to every 5th or something like that. I mean, I don't know, Willie, how do you feel about Susac?
Well, I'll say this: at the ball game, everybody was like, "Why is Susac starting? He's 6 for 7. He's the next Barry Susac. Put Barry Susac in."
Right.
And I'm just like, well, first of all, it's a day game after a night game, so you're not going to play the catcher from last night either way. But it's not gonna. I don't think the rotation's changing anytime soon. And you said it too. He will end the year hitting like 220. I mean, I'm just sorry. That's just what's going to happen.
Sure.
But the other thing too is, riding the hot hand is not a bad idea. And if if let's say Bailey goes out and has an abysmal 0 for 5 with like 3 strikeouts, you might say, "Hey man, take a rest." You know what I mean? At least we got a guy we know we can put in who's a pretty good backup.
Yeah.
Now, if Susac just rakes for the entire season, well, now you got yourself a controversy, and I'm sure there's plenty of teams that would take a multiple Gold Glove winning catcher off your hands, even if he doesn't hit good. And that could be an interesting problem to have, but we're not there yet. So I'm not really concerned
not
about
even
it.
close.
Right now, it's just fun to watch a kid have a fantastic start to his career. So, and he's young. He's very young still.
Yeah, you play the matchups while you can. Like they're facing a lefty on Sunday, so that's a good spot for Susac to be in. His only 2 starts have both been Robbie Ray starts, and coincidentally, they're 2-0. And so Ray does seem like to pitch to him. Granted, Ray's not pitching on Sunday, but I mean, you don't change up the rotation at all right now with when you're playing guys. Susac, yes, he got on fire early, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm a little more optimistic than you guys. I think he'll hit about 250, 255, because there's something about his swing. He really loves to go the opposite way. The thing the Giants did well the last couple of days is going the opposite way and going with pitches, and Susac was a big part of that the other night. Because you see it. I mean, most of his hits have been to right field. And in interviews after the game, he had said, I'm trying to, keep the ball in the middle of the field, go the opposite way if I have to. So I think you start Bailey regularly, especially against right-handed pitchers. And then Susac, he'll get his every 4 or 5 days to start, just like any backup catcher is going to get. ABS, it'll be interesting to see where they are at the end of the season. Is Bailey that much better at ABS that he's worth it, or is Susac possible as a long-term solution? So I don't think he changed anything right now, but we let it go.
Yesterday, Bailey was absolutely atrocious at ABS. I think
he was horrible.
He missed both of them that I can remember. I mean, it's hard. Okay, it's hard to tell in the stadium what's happening. This is my first time being there, but I'm glad they're announcing it because, from where I was sitting at the moment, I was kind of off to the side. I think I was off to the first base side there. And one of them did look like it was close, but it was a little low to me. And sure. he did the thing. And then the umpire comes out and you're like, oh, he challenged that. I was a little shocked because it also didn't seem like the most important situation, I guess, if I remember correctly anyway. I don't know. It's hard to remember the exact scenario, but I don't even think it was for a strikeout either. I think it was just a 1-0 or 2-0 pitch or something like that. But yeah, he didn't get it. Then he didn't get the next one, and it was like, oh my god. But there is an interesting kind of thing I've noticed when I'm watching on TV is that if the umpire is maybe squeezing your guy a little bit, or you're just you disagree with a couple, it's not necessarily that you're always doing the ABS for that particular pitch. It might just be hey, I need to back my pitcher up here a little bit. And be I think these are strikes. I think these are good pitches. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's hey, listen, ump. Just hey, don't. I'm watching you, and I'm ready to make this call. So there's a little bit of a gamesmanship thing going on, I think, with ABS too sometimes, where it's not always about the exact moment. It's about kind of setting up for the rest of the game.
Political reasons. Take one for the starter.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I haven't checked the recent stats, but I've been watching a few other games, and there's been guys in the second inning with a fresh count with 2 outs and no one on base that are challenging. And you even hear the announcers go, well, I don't really understand why he challenged that one. It wasn't 6 inches out of the zone where it's super obvious. Yeah. And these guys, they're either right or wrong, but they're always really close to the border. And it is strange. I wonder how long it's going to take for teams to, we talked about this last time with Milwaukee trying to do the green card system and all that, where, guys in the second inning with 2 outs and no one on, in a fresh count or a 1-0 count, why are you challenging that? I mean, there's literally no upside to it. I mean, there's almost no upside to it, statistically.
No, you just literally let those go 100% of the time. Because yesterday we didn't have any challenges in the 9th inning, right? Yeah. And so now you got Eric Miller coming in to close the game. Granted, it was 5-0, so it wasn't a safe situation or anything. But you got your guy coming in to shut the game out, and let's say the umpire starts getting them wrong. You have no recourse. So it's just bad strategy to be using them up on early game stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. umpires are human, and I'm not suggesting this would ever happen, but in a movie it might, where so an umpire is ticked off at a catcher or a pitcher or that team because of the way they challenged or something happened earlier in the game, so they were holding a grudge. But let's say that team is now out of challenges and they go to the ninth inning in a close game. It's very, possible, not saying it's probable, possible, an umpire could lean towards screwing that team with some bad calls in the ninth because they can't do anything about it. I was wondering about that. You know what I mean?
The human element.
Yeah, the human element comes in. And I know they're professionals and not supposed to do that. I get it. But, we've seen it happen before, in regular baseball games before ABS. So I'm just curious if that's going to happen a few times this year. Like John Boy's going to break it down and say, like, this guy never called this all game. And suddenly in the ninth inning, after this team was out of challenges, he was pissed from what happened in the fifth inning. And look at this. Look at this ball. Look at this ball. Look at this ball. Just call
there are definitely umpires. There are umpires who are complete dicks. I feel like ABS has maybe rooted those guys out a little bit, but we know. Like, who's the umpire who like held Bumgarner's hand for like 20 seconds straight, and stared into his eyes while he was,
Bum was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
There are those guys.
Yeah, who was that?
I can't remember anymore, but here's an interesting thing. In football, like they review all scoring plays, and then there's like at the end of the game, they go to like umpire review. Like they could just decide to review a play, even if like they don't have challenges and stuff like that. It would be interesting for as ABS kind of continues to evolve. Like, do you think that maybe every team should just get one in the ninth inning? Do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what happened during the rest of the game, because that is the moment when you really need one, and it's weird for like you'd have to like always be saving that second one. So in a sense, if you like want to make sure you have one in the ninth, after you use the first one wrong, you kind of don't have any more. Do you know what I mean? So like it's an interesting thing, and I wonder how it's going to evolve as time goes on.
Yeah. I was watching that breakdown that we talked about last week with CB Buckner missing the guy even touching first base because he didn't even see it, and yet he called him safe for not touching the bag. They went to the review. Blah blah blah. John Boyd did a great breakdown of it, but one of the things that he suggested, which I guess on one hand I could see it plausibly being useful, but on the other hand I could see it being abused. But he was saying, hey, look, these umpires are human. His head was on a string. He followed the ball as it sailed over first base, then looked back at the bag after the guy missed it, and then he was screwed, right? He realized he missed the call, and he was doing the lip reading thing. And he's like, did you see him? Did you see him? Like, he clearly did not see him. And he was asking the other umpire, did you see him? And the guy was like, nope, no, I didn't see him. So he just called him safe. And who was it? Was it Eric or you, Willie, that suggested that maybe he called him safe to institute a replay to then get it right? Because John Boy was suggesting that
was Eric,
maybe the umpires should have a review, like they as collectively, or each umpire should have like one review per game. Like just basically raise your hand and go, dude, I missed it. And no one saw it. So we have to look at the replay to see if he touched first base. Something like that.
That makes so much sense. If you didn't see it, just be like, hey, we need to go look at this one, because I completely like, if in basketball, right, if one ref who's supposed to be the one covering, if it goes out of bounds, doesn't see it, they just go like, I don't know. Does anybody know? Anybody know? And the other guys can say, but like, to me, it's like, I don't mind waiting a second to figure it out, because at this point it's pretty fast. I'd rather the call just be right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just get the call right.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting suggestion. I would say, if the umpires miss a call and they own up to it, you're all human. You could have a person that blocked your view. You could have another reason you just missed a call and no one else saw it. So you go, okay, you know what? We're going to go to replay. We need to get this right. So I think it's a kind of a good call. Well, the Giants, they're not doing so hot in the standings, and it kind of bears out in their rankings and stats. So I was just going to go through a quick list here. Again, just like standings, this is going to change a lot during the year. Hopefully, there's only room to go up for the Giants, but they are dead last in home runs. They have 5 as a team. And just to let you know, 4 players individually in the major leagues have 5 home runs. So there's that. I mean, that's just oof. Runs, they are 26th. With 41, average, they're 14th at 233. OPS, this is where it really gets bad because their on-base percentage and slugging is so poor. Their on-base is 28th. Their OPS is 26th. The ERA is just below average, 4.03, 18th. Their pen ERA, they've had some troubles, is at 19th at 4.3. Their whip is around the same, 17th, 1.34, and their batting average against is 19th, 242. So, I mean, again, it clearly shows that offensively is where they're struggling more than the pitching, but even pitching, they're below average right now. So these are the things that have to get better for the Giants. But as far as power, yeah, they had 10 games at home already, so that's part of it because, that's kind of a drought ballpark for home runs. But that being said, I mean, 5 in 13 games.
Yeah. No, it's pretty bad.
That's like
bad.
on pace for it maybe hitting 90 home runs for the entire year.
I will say this, though. If we're in any other ballpark, Arias has 2 already.
Yeah, true.
He got robbed twice by the wind out there in right field. But, I'm glad I got to see the one moonshot we've had all season because that thing was absolutely tattooed.
Yeah, that was Bonzi, man. Way up in that.
No, it was dead center, and it did not barely get over the wall. It was like a good 10, 15 feet over the wall in dead center. So yeah, that was pretty sick. We do have potential power on this team right now. Nobody's doing it yet, but we are very, very clearly just a below average ball club at the moment. But I don't think that we are a below average ball club for an entire season. I do think at some point we will be slightly above average in a lot of these categories. We just have had a rough start. So I'm actually getting picked up right now, so I got to go.
Yeah,
but one thing I do want to say, last thing, you brought up Arias already. At the beginning of the year, when we picked him up, a lot of people on Reddit were like, this guy sucks. This is the worst move we could have made.
Yeah,
I think we should have had Casey. It's Casey Smith's turn. Like, let him go. All those guys need to shut the fuck up because he is the best player on the team by a huge margin right now. And I looked up his defense. He is above average right now as defensive second baseman. Right now, I will say. The one thing is they say his arm strength is like one of the worst, but he plays second base. It doesn't matter. And he's turning all the double plays. The double plays are not a problem, which I think everybody said would be a problem. And right now he's just got the magic wand going. So all those people need to eat crow, and maybe you don't know everything about baseball. All right, stick to Reddit, you guys. All right. Anyway, I'm out. Love you guys. I'll be doing a recap after the Orioles series, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right, take it easy, Willie.
See you later, bud.
All right, boys.
Yeah, well, thanks for Willie for hanging around when he could. He had some stuff to do, but he'll be back doing our new series recaps. Eric, you did the New York Mets series, so I was going to kind of ask you a little bit about that, and he's going to be taking care of the Orioles series coming up, and most likely we'll have a podcast next week after the Cincy series, and then we'll be back on that rotation. Speaking of the Mets, I mean, it is kind of fun. We've done 2 of these series recaps. I did the sweep against the Yankees. That was fun. They scored 1 run in 3 games. And then you got the Mets, where it started out great with a 7-2 victory, and then just ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. 3 in a row. 2 of them getting waxed, and then the last one kind of blowing a lead. So I listened to it. It was great, Eric, but kind of when you looked into the finer details of it, kind of what was your takeaway from that series? I mean, their biggest strength, if you could even call it that, like maybe Susac's game and anyone in that first game, Devers home run, that's about it. And then, obviously all the weaknesses.
That was literally it, though, was that first game, because they just looked like an inferior team to the Mets the next 3 days.
Yeah.
The Sunday game, they did have a shot, but the lead got extended by the Mets later on, and so it made it difficult. And yeah, I mean, they had a 2-1 lead going into the 8th inning and gave up 4 runs in the 8th to the Mets, more bullpen shenanigans. And so, I hate to sound like Dennis Green, but they kind of are who we thought they were. They'll probably play down. They'll probably beat up on some lesser competition. And when they're facing better competition, there's going to be times that they just look horrible. And that Mets series was both. They really stepped up in that first game. It was a lot of fun. And if you listen to that recap, you all know what I'm talking about. Fun. And then the next 3 games, not so much. But, it's kind of fun doing those recaps. It keeps us a little more engaged. I know I would jot down a note or 2 during the game when I'm watching it. And so I've come back to that note. when I did the solo pod. And I look forward. Willie's going to get this Baltimore series. He's going to get some offense and some runs, to kind of take it back to where they stand as an offense and the numbers you were listing. They're going to hit in places like Baltimore and Cincinnati and Philly and, other Milwaukee, Chicago, Atlanta, Arizona, hopefully. They're going to hit in those places. All their games have been in Pitchers Park so far between Oracle and Petco. So it's kind of tough to judge them right now as far as what kind of offense they're going to be. We've seen in years past where the Giants struggle at home, have a 3-4 homestand, and they go on the road and they go 5-1, and they average 7 runs a game. And we've definitely seen that happen in the past before. So I think we might continue seeing more of the same. So, the lack of home runs, yeah, that sucks, but it's also April in San Francisco.
And
aside from Kevin Ellis, nobody's jacking the ball out of the yard.
Again, I think all of these slumps and poor performances are so magnified at the beginning of the season just because it's all we've seen. And statistically, that's all that is captured. So they're always at the bottom of things because, again, even the Dodgers and the other good teams, in the middle of July are going to lose, 5 out of 7 and have a bad week and hit 2 home runs during the week. It happens. Now, much less frequently for the good teams. My point is that just, 1 or 2 weeks to start the season that's poor doesn't mean obviously that's what this team is going to be like. We've seen teams in the past like the Atlanta Braves in 2022. They had one of the worst records at the end of June. And they came streaking at the last half of the year and made the playoffs and ended up winning the whole World Series. So, weird things happen. It's such a long season. So when I do kind of hear the naysayers, either friends, people at the gym or on Reddit or other social media platforms, it is kind of hilarious because it's why are you judging a whole season off of 5-10 games? Come on, guys,
but to be fair, we also do need to be questioning moves like bringing Baraki in on Monday's game and getting annoyed at some crappy ass fielding that has been there so far. It's all fun and games to chant Jung Hoo Lee. It'd be nice if Jung Hoo Lee did something, anything. His 2 biggest contributions have been sac flies this season. That's it. Woo! The guy's hitting 143, and it's you're starting to wonder is his defense worth it? If Encarnacion's hitting the ball decently, maybe get him out there, maybe give Oliva more of a shot and stuff like that. But like you said, it's early, so they're going to give him some long runway and give him a little more time. And I've had knee-jerk reactions. Seriously, after Monday's game, I was like, this team sucks. I hate this. Tony V can't manage at the big league level. I had them all locked and loaded, all the tropes, all the reasons to be angry. And then they win 2 games in a row, and suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm cautiously optimistic. Right. 5-8, like you said, it's not that bad. You win each of the next 3 series, you're back at 500. Granted, you don't want to have to take until April 20th to get to 500, but that might be the path they have to take. So,
this is the time of year you can't focus, even though I read the stats to everyone just to kind of see where they rank with everyone else, because everyone else has just as few stats. You can't rely on just the raw statistical numbers, and you can't say their winning percentage is so horrible at 5-8. And it's the way I think of it is always that barometer of 500. We always talk about they're 3 games over, they're 3 games under. So right now they're 3 games under. So in the middle of June, if they were 3 games under, I wouldn't be happy, but I'd be like, they're only 3 games under. They have plenty of time to correct this. Well, they have a hell of a lot more time than in June. It's the beginning of April. So, and it sucks. I wish they were 3 games over. Last year they started 8-1, and look where they ended up. Exactly 500, right? So I don't know. Back in 2000, in fact, they started
2 series.
Yeah, they played. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They back in 2000, they opened up the ballpark, going 1-8, I believe, or 1-7. Same thing. In 1990, they opened up. There's their worst start at home ever in San Francisco. They opened up 0-8, and yet they still made the playoffs. That year. So things happen, guys. They go through bad streaks, and it just kind of the bad part of a streak is at the beginning of the season. Now the hope is they are going to be able to turn it around somewhat, get back to 500, and at least kind of float around there, maybe just a little above 500, kind of really shoot for the wild card. We have no aspirations, and I hope not too many Giants fans do, that this is going to be a 2021 situation. It's just not going to happen, guys. That was such a rare, unicorn of a season where everything kind of worked together, all the piecemealing, all the diamonds in the rough, the career years by Crawford and Belt and Posey and others, and just all the right moves were made at the right time, and they end up winning a franchise record, 107 games, and then, of course, promptly exit in the first round against the Dodgers. It's just, those things aren't going to really happen. It's so rare. So, again, floating around 500, making a move later in the season is kind of the way I would hope this season goes. I mean, it'd be great to be pleasantly surprised and getting north of 90 wins, but that's not going to happen. So, it was a tough week overall, but I think it did end on a good note, especially with 20 consecutive scoreless innings. So maybe that'll be a little buoy to them. And speaking of, we can also dwell on how well they did. So I'm going to do a little who's hot and who's not, and this covers, the 7 games this week. Matt Chapman, he hit 393 for the week with an OPS of near 1,000 to 985. And of course, he was 6 for 12 versus Philadelphia. And by the way, so was Adames, but overall in the week, he was like 280 or so. Arias hit 333 for the week. His OPS was 836. We already mentioned Susac going 6 for 7. Of course, Robbie Ray and Tyler Mahle combined for 12 and a third shutout innings. And then just kind of a shout out to a few guys in the bullpen combined together this week. Gage, well, actually on the season, Gage, is it Killian or Cillian? I still don't know.
It's Killian, Caleb Killian.
It is Caleb Killian. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's Killian. Much like the pitching coach, it looks like McCage, but it's Message.
Right.
So,
and
yeah,
Tidwell,
I guess it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I keep thinking of like Murphy. Like I'm like, it is Killian, right? Yeah, that's right, Killian Murphy.
Last name. Yeah. Killian's beer. It's like Killian's beer that we all drank in college.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Boy, that's a throwback. Anyway, right. Gage, Killian, and Tidwell have combined on the season for 16 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing only 5 hits and 6 walks for that time. So those guys have been contributing well, as opposed to Baraki and others. And then speaking of that, Jose Buto, who got roughed up quite a bit, he ended up having an issue with his right arm. He had a blood clot, so he got it surgically removed on April 3rd, and he's going to be out 2 to 4 months. So welcome to the club, baby. I'm wearing my brace on my arm right now. So although I'll be out a little bit more than 2 to 4 months.
With these guys that are hot, you highlight the bullpen guys. Those are the guys that are stepping up and showing that they want to be part of the bullpen in the leverage situations. Because, we've talked about it. It's an open tryout right now. Tony V does not seem to – he seems to favor a few different guys like Keaton Wynn and Eric Miller late in game situations. It was really nice to see him ride Tidwell for those last 3 innings in the victory over the Mets. So that Tidwell got his first save in his career against this former team. That was nice. When you cool. Double back to the offense, Chapman's on fire right now.
Yeah, he's doing great, man. He absolutely
is. Like we need the order to be like Adames, Arise, Chapman, and then Devers, and that's a pretty good top 4 going against anybody right now. When they're hitting the ball. Adames obviously wasn't hot enough for the whole week, but he's getting on base enough as a leadoff man. And Chapman, he's coming through. Hitting 500 in a 3-game series, pretty darn good. And it's just a pleasure to watch Arise. Like, his bat control is phenomenal. It reminds me of Pablo's bat control, in that the barrel can get to any part of the strike zone at any time. And you are surprised when he swings and misses, or when he even takes a strike for strike 3, because his eye is so good. So, the offense seems like the last couple games they leveled out. And it did show from the top half of, the lineup from doing stuff. But there's other guys that are struggling that are starting to get frustrating, and it's pretty much across the outfield.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we have Rafael Devers. Don't get me wrong. But, man, have you seen James Tibbs going off for Oklahoma City and the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Oh my lord! Now we don't know what's going to happen with the guy. He was a highly touted prospect, and of course he was highly ranked when he was with the Giants, and then he was traded to Boston as part of the Devers deal, and then they ended up shuttling him to, of course, the Dodgers because they need more star athletes in their system. But he had like 7 bombs in the first week at AAA, and right now he's hitting through 11 games, 413 with those 7 bombs and 13 ribs. And so anyway, he just made a little national headlines because he was on such an unprecedented tear down in AAA, and a lot of Dodgers fans are clamoring for him to get called up to the show. So that'll be just something to keep an eye on, like literally, because this is only the first full season the Giants are going to have Devers. If Tibbs gets called up, to see how they both compare this year and maybe into next year, and kind of go, oops, or it's fine. We'll see.
Well, yesterday's game was a perfect example of why they did trade for Devers.
Yes.
I mean, the 3-run homer was a game changer. The driving in a rise for the 4th run, was insurance. And if you're going to get 5-6 games like that from him in a season, it makes it worth it. It makes the entire trade worth it. So, yeah, it sucks that Tibbs is gone. It's just so funny that Boston traded away everybody that the Giants sent them in that deal. It's just unbelievable. And like the other day, Harrison was pitching for Milwaukee, and Matos made a diving catch for him. It's like, what is going on? All these ex-Giants everywhere. But I really think games like yesterday is why Devers is in a Giants uniform, and you can see why they would want him. He is the guy. He is the premier hitter on the team. So, that's the thing. Tibbs is still potential. Devers is actually here.
That's the thing in trades I think a lot of people always neglect is like, well, this guy was the heavy prospect. Why would you trade away all these guys for this guy? And it's like, well, we know what we're getting, a known commodity now. We know we can expect this certain level of production. Could the potential of the prospect meet or exceed the current player? Sure. But that's just not known. A lot of AAAers, AA-ers fizzle out and never make it to the show or fail in the show. They're quad A players, But like Devers, he's one of those guys where he's proven it. So he knows, we know who he is. And like you said, I mean, yesterday was so critical. It was in the 6th inning, 2 outs, bottom of the 6th, no score. And it was just like, oh, finally, it was just that crack of the bat. You knew it was gone right away. He knew it was gone right away. And it was just like 3 runs all at once. I'm feeling greedy as a Giants fan. This is amazing. Like so many other teams, like this is routine for them.
It was their first multi-run homer of the season.
Oh my God, isn't that sad? Like, oh my God. But I think
I think the Dodgers are averaging over a home run a game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I looked earlier, and I know I think the leading team has 20 or 21 home runs, and I think it was the Dodgers. And the Giants have 5. So I mean, it's just. The difference is so striking, when another team has quadrupled your homer output. I mean, that's pretty bad. But
21.
I think the other thing that's frustrating, and some other reporters have been bringing it up, is it's beginning to feel, again, early in the season, we'll see how things bear out by the All-Star break. After 2021, I mean, every season has felt the same, Eric, no matter who the manager has been. It's always within a couple of games of 500, and always the same things we're complaining about: lack of offense, lack of timely hitting, lack of power, and some bullpen issues, right? The starters are generally have been their strength over the last 5 seasons or so. And I don't know, it's starting, even though it's only 2 weeks in the season, it's starting to fit that mold again. And it's like, man, they are better on paper this year. I'm still convinced they're better on paper this year than they were last year. And I do think they can squeeze out some mid-80s wins. But, if guys don't have good years like Devers, he only hits 15 to 20 bombs this year. That's an issue. Adames, if he drops production, if Logan Webb is starting to slide a little bit. I mean, these things can have cumulative effects where, they might be better on paper from last year, but their performance may not actually, that might not be the output, is my point. And, I don't know. The Giants are really struggling. And for a guy who's now been in charge for a few seasons now, in Buster Posey, we trust in Buster. We keep saying those things. We also trusted Farhan, and that didn't work out after a while. So I'm not suggesting at all. No one get mad at their their iPhone right now. I'm not saying Buster should not be leading baseball operations, not at all I'm saying is that if this continues this season and the next couple, what happens to this team? And that's a discussion for another time, but those are just some of the vibes that I personally have been feeling and been kind of reading around the rooms lately. I don't know. It's just as a Giants fan, we're starting to get that fatigue to set in. It was pretty bad between 16 and 21. Then 21, we had a nice little reprieve, and then we're kind of back in that valley again. And to see that the Giants have only made the playoffs once in 9 seasons is rough. Is really rough. And if they don't make it this year, it'll be 10. And it's those 3 World Series are great, but we're going on 11 seasons after their last one, or 12 seasons after their last one. So it's a little rough.
Yeah, the Giants race to the middle and stay there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think with all of the factors this season, I think being that same club again is actually okay, because I think that you want to look more towards 27, 28, and 29. They've got to hammer out another agreement with the collective bargaining after this season. So some things might change, and it's possible the Giants did not want to invest huge long-term money in anybody during this past offseason. I mean, even Arise is on a 1-year show me deal. So you got to wonder if they're just okay. As long as they're the thought in the building is probably as long as we're competitive in September. And they were competitive last year in September. When we went to those games, there was still a shot for them to make the playoffs.
Yep.
And so I think that that's what the root's shooting for again this year. But when you have a new manager, especially one, I have so many thoughts on this guy, especially one who is making the leap that he has made. There's going to be some growing pains throughout this season. And even if they are an 84, 85, 86 win team, the fact that Tony's there and things are new, that might cost them a game here or a game there, which I already think it has. So it's going to be some growing pains with this season. So I think this season will be a surprise, a pleasant surprise, if they can finish above 500 and compete for the playoffs. But if they don't, if they hover around 500 like each of the last few years, I'm not going to call it a disappointment. A disappointment would be winning 72 games, But if they manage to win 79, 80, 81, I'll still be okay with it. But, I mean, they can't get the whole team working together just yet, No. Some of these guys that are ice cold are ice cold. And you're not sure if they're going to be able to get out of the boat that they're in right now. And Tony V doesn't have a bench to mix and match anymore. There's no left-handed bats coming off the bench. So you're not like saying, I'll give this guy a day off. It's a better matchup for this guy against this guy. No, that's why certain guys weren't bad to have on the bench in the past. And why a guy like Eldridge would fit in better on a team like this is to get the left-handed bat. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, time will tell. Time will definitely tell. But, they need to get these guys in the lower half of the order going. It's great that Schmidt and Susac are doing damage at like 8 and 9, but like Bader and Lee are absolutely killing. Ooh. Like they come to the plate and it's like, oh, I'm ready. If I'm about to head out for a smoke after that half inning and there's 2 outs and one of those guys come up, I'm standing up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to walk out the door because I'm just certain it's going to end in failure.
Yeah, I mean, Bader's highlight so far is hitting that catering truck. I mean, he's done nothing, right? He's 114 on the season, and he was 1 for 22 this week. Ouch. And then Lee, we talked about him. Where has he been? 143, and he was 2 for 21 this week. And then, bullpen, this is the who's not list. And then Borucki and Brubaker, of course, got touched up a little bit this week. Their ERAs are a little inflated right now. But, yeah, Bader's one of those guys where he's a good defensive center fielder, and he's a decent hitter. He's just in a real funk right now. So, these are the guys that are really going to be needed to contribute because, against the Phillies, they hit 314, and I think for the week they hit 260, which doesn't bode well for the New York series that you covered. They obviously hit well below that, I think like 220 for that series. But, 260 for a week is fine. Their pitching just didn't match that. Injuries I already talked about. Budo is out with the blood clot. He'll be back in 2 to 4 months. And then transactions, you were talking about Luis Matos suiting up for the Brewers and making a diving catch in right field there. Well, Tyler Fitzgerald, of course, was DFA'd, and then they ended up trading him to the Blue Jays for cash. And he was just called up 2 days ago. So he is on the active roster now with the Blue Jays. I've always liked Tyler Fitzgerald. You know, he wasn't going to go anywhere far with the Giants, but he has a little spark in him. So good luck to him with Toronto. And you already mentioned this, Blade Tidwell was called up to replace Budo on the roster. But other than that, the roster's pretty much been the same. And, you know, you were talking about how there's not many moves to make with the lineup because of the lack of lefties. The one thing I've noticed is that, like, every night I look at the box score and, you know, usually you see PH, you know, several times or defensive replacements or whatever, and you get, you know, 12, 13, 14 batters in the box score. Lately, it's been 9 and 10. That's it. You know, there's like no one goes in. Like no one is substituting. No one is pinch hitting. It's so rare. And I do think it's because these matchups are hard to mix and match. And then later in the games, sometimes he just lets it ride and, you know, keeps these the same guys in there that were starting the game. So it's just something I've noticed with the box scores. I think with especially with Kapler, oh my God, it was like 16 guys, you know, in the box score every night. It was crazy.
Well, like the other night, he had Encarnacion in right for Lee, and there was one other. I can't remember who was in the. Oh, it might have been Oliva, and he had both Bader and Lee pinch hit for Encarnacion and Oliva the first chance he got. It was like the 6th and 7th inning where he immediately inserted them back into the lineup as soon as he could. So that's where it makes me wonder, you know, he's going to have some growing pains. We have no idea. Is that what he did in college? Did he just throw the same, you know, 9 guys out there every single game and didn't substitute? So we can't really tell how he's going to play that. But, you know, it is weird that Christian Koss pitched an inning before he even got an at bat.
Yep.
It is weird that it took Oliva like 10 games to finally get an at bat. You know, Kruk and Kuip were talking about it yesterday. You know, back in the day, some guys would go all the way into May without getting a hit. Thanks to Oliva's hit yesterday, everybody on the Giants does have at least one hit. So
it's kind of a nice.
We can be thankful for that. Yeah, we can be thankful for that. But it's those kinks are going to take some time to work out, and of course there'll be injuries at some point. Some guys will get injured, so they'll have to bring people up.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm so used to that even though in my mind I hadn't heard of anyone else that was hurt, but when I checked their injury list, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. It's just Budo. Okay, cool. You know, that's kind of a rarity, like you said. I mean, it seems like there's always injuries on this team, and it will happen, especially as they get in and are playing more games, have fewer off days in particular weeks. You know, it's definitely going to happen. You just hope, you know, Devers and Chapman and those are the guys that don't, you know, Logan Webb, which he's always been healthy. Those are the guys that don't go down. You know, we can lose an Oliva or whatever. You know, that's okay.
Yeah. Or a Jung-Hoo Lee or even Bader for a little bit
Bader
of time.
right now. Ooh,
I mean,
boy.
Yeah. And he looks like he's struggling. When he's at the plate, he looks like he's trying to hit the ball 500 feet every time.
Yeah. Not good there. But, hey, look, they're going to get on the road, and sometimes that change of scenery is good. Of course, they did, you know, shut out their last 2 games, which was great. They're going to go on the road with a little pep in their step. I love Willy Adames. You know, we just got a bobblehead of Willy Adames throwing the cooler, you know, on everyone, and he's been doing that over and over and over again. He took out that new woman reporter's laptop last week, which was pretty funny. And then Sean Estes and her yesterday were like had ponchos on, and they even like covered her laptop. And then did you see Luis Ariz? He was being interviewed, and he's all, hug me first. I love you, bro. And then he's like, toss. Got him square there. So, you know, it's fun to see that kind of interaction. I still love that human interaction. And, you know, Willy Adames is a cheerleader. He's a bit of a captain on this team in terms of that. And, you know, Ariz looks like a really fun guy. Chapman's been interesting, I would say. He's been very, very focused and, you know, catch the effing ball and all that. And he's already made 3 errors this year, which is unusual for him. But, yeah, I'd say, you know, for being Giants fans, you know, we get frustrated. And I'm sure the players are frustrated, but they're doing a pretty good job of not showing it if they are frustrated. But there's nothing is a better cure than a little winning streak. And so they were all looking really happy yesterday.
Yeah, the chemistry is there. You can see Arise has so much more personality than I expected.
Me, yeah.
You know, his motor never stops. And it was so funny. They were asking him, "Did you like DHing today?" He's like, "No, I want to go back to second base. I want to go back to second base." So I appreciate that from him. They do. They seem to have a decent culture inside the clubhouse so far. Mm-hmm. So, you know, those are positives to look at when they're struggling this early.
Yeah, and, you know, I think they like Tony V so far. They've been celebrating, you know, like his first win, his first home win, his first road win. And they even celebrated his first home series win yesterday. So they're doing all these little ceremonies with beer and other things. But yeah, Tony V, he also, like, we were talking about, like, why sometimes it's refreshing on a personal note that he reveals a lot, but on the other hand, it's like you don't want it to be a distraction. And so when I don't have the quote in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing, and I'm sure you saw it too, but he was being interviewed a couple of days ago, and they were talking about the clubhouse, and he's like, yeah, you know, a few things have happened behind the scenes. And they're like, what? Like, what else has happened? Oh, well, you know, you guys know about the thing with Chapman on the mound, and they weren't as bad as that, but, you know, they've happened behind the scenes, you know, but we take care of it in house. And it was kind of interesting he didn't really reveal any details about who and what and why and where. Where it was behind the clubhouse, but it does suggest that clearly there are a couple of little, you know, warm spots, shall we say, in the Giants clubhouse. Yeah. There have been a few conversations behind the scenes, and usually those are the things that, unless a reporter directly heard. Do you remember when, oh my God, why am I forgetting the reporter's name? Baggerly.
Baggerly.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago, he happened to kind of hear some arguing going on in the clubhouse, and he reported on it. And the players iced him out for a while because they were like, you're not supposed to report on that. That's like reporter code. Like, we're back in our, you know, our confines. You're not in there. That you don't report on that stuff. And he's like, no, man, I heard it. I'm going to report on it. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm going to do. But now you have the manager kind of volunteering that information without specifics, but then it gets people asking questions and the reporters dig, and it's interesting because I appreciate the honesty, and I'm glad he's not like Bill Belichick because that's like the worst. But at the same time, you don't want it to be a distraction on this team. So, you know, hopefully he'll continue to be very, very vocal and descriptive about things that we definitely care about, but without being a distraction. It's a double-edged sword, I'd say. But he's learning.
That was so weird. That was so weird that he said that, though. Like, why bring it up, dude? You know, in-house stuff stays in-house. And I'm just not sure. I don't know if he's cut out for this. It's too early to tell. But signs like that tell me maybe he wasn't ready necessarily. Like Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy was a well-known college baseball coach. He then went and joined Craig Counsell's staff in Milwaukee and learned, and then took over as the manager in Milwaukee. I think maybe Tony could have had that opportunity and it would have helped him a little bit better. Like he doesn't seem to understand that it's okay to give a 30-second answer. You don't have to go off for 2.5 minutes about something. You don't have to reveal information that's not being asked of you. Yep. Part of your job is to protect that clubhouse. So protect that clubhouse. So those are my biggest issues with Tony V right now. But like I said, I'm trying to be good. Time will tell. We'll see what happens in the next 6 months.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 335. Today's an off day for the Giants, and they have 3 in Baltimore. Like we said, Willie has the recap, so look for that to be posted sometime next week, hopefully by Sunday night. They have an off day Monday, and then they have 3 in Cincinnati. And the third game on Thursday, a week from today, is at 9:40 a.m. Pacific. So if our schedules align, we will try and record kind of the same time we are today. And so we can kind of review the whole week of Giants baseball in Baltimore and Cincinnati. And then after that, they go to 3 to Washington. And if we're on pace, then I'll handle that series recap there. So yeah, episode 336. Hopefully right after the next Reds games. Sometimes I like those really early morning games. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It's like I'm just getting my cup of coffee in the morning and the Giants are already playing. I'm like, oh, hey, look at that. I'm at work and I'm watching baseball. This is kind of cool.
That's how I feel about 12:45 games. That happened to me yesterday.
That's too funny.
I woke up. I mean, I work nights, you know,
yeah,
so the morning games aren't as easy. And yesterday I rolled out of bed And my normal routine is to roll out of bed, take the dog out, and then come brush my teeth, do everything, start my coffee.
Yeah.
And then when my coffee's done, sit down and watch a Vegas Matt video on YouTube. And I'm settling in. It's right around 12:45 yesterday. I'm settling in with my coffee, and I open my phone and I'm like, oh yeah, the Giants are on. And it was so nice to just sit there and wake up slowly while watching the game, drinking coffee. So I'm with you. I do kind of like those earlier games sometimes. 9:40 is a little rough for me.
9:40 might be a little rough for you, yeah.
It is, but like when I didn't work nights, I loved those games, especially when I was on the East Coast. But it's fun to have baseball and breakfast though sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Giants are on the screen, you're cooking up some eggs and stuff, so you know, I don't mind that at all. Next Thursday I'll make it a point to get up early though.
Yeah, so we'll probably be back with 336 next Thursday. In the meantime, you can follow us collectively at TortureCast or individually at ChadK21 for myself, at 2 Out Hits for Eric with the number 2. Like us on Facebook. Find everything that we post at torturecast.com, and then you can email us at torturecast@gmail.com. And I really encourage you guys either interact on social media or email us. That's how I kind of got a part of the show, sending in segments. But shoot us questions, do whatever you want. But yeah, talk it up. We want to know what you think out there. So anyway, for Willie, thanks for him participating today before he had to take off. For Eric, this is Chad signing off. And we'll see you next week. And go Giants. Beat the Birds. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.